Hello, I'm Martha Swales from Marth's Kitchen Garden, and this is my little urban garden in London. I've been gardening for about 15 years, and I very much got into gardening because I started growing food. So I bought a few packets of seeds in the shop at Kew Gardens, planted them all over my parents' garden, and then the year after that I got my first allotment. What I wanted to do here in this garden is to create an oasis full of food right outside my back door. And actually loads of the plants here are edible. But what I've loved about having my own garden is to intersperse that with loads of beautiful, colourful and pollinator-friendly flowers. This is my third year in the garden, and when I first moved in, it had, well, no pots in it for starters. The patio was here, the shed was here, there was a lumpy lawn in the middle, and actually there were a few things that I've kept. A lovely rose, Japanese anemones, but mostly what I've done is fill it with plants. My background is as a TV producer and director, making a lot of food programmes, but alongside that career, I was always growing food on my allotment. What my garden has allowed me to do is bring together my love of television and storytelling with my love of food and gardening. So now I make loads of content for social media about gardening, growing food and how to cook it. My garden is about 8 metres by 5 metres, so it's not a lot of space, but one of the ways that I have organised it is to have zones. They're not strict at all because I'm quite an impulsive gardener, but they help me to organise what I want to put where. I also think height is really important in a garden, and that's reflected all around the space. I grow up the fences, over archways, I even have things trailing through trees, and I want to have as much vertical space as possible. Every bit of my garden is designed to be wildlife friendly, and that means no pesticides, no synthetic chemicals actually used in the garden at all, and a really light approach to how I deal with any pests. Everywhere around the garden, I also try to include lots of pollinator-friendly plants. I let my herbs flower, and I have a designated area that is very much untouched for wildlife. There's nothing I love more than showing people around my garden. Let me show you around. So this is my patio, and it's where the majority of my container plants are. So actually everything around me is planted in containers, and there's lots of food in here, loads of herbs, smaller edible plants like cherry tomatoes, chilies. I've got lots of salad in the spring. I have window boxes full of all different kinds of salad, spring onions, got some citrus, and then, as I always like to do, filling the fences. So I've even got grapes growing on the fence behind me. That is the one plant that's actually planted in the ground. The thing about a vine is you can plant it quite far away and then train it however you want. This beautiful planter is absolutely packed with loads of different herbs. And then, of course, got to have some dahlias just for the pop of colour. The bees actually also love, especially the more open petalled ones. So it's a real mix, and as is reflected in every part of my garden, I want to be surrounded by plants. This area of my garden I think is really accessible in many ways. It's accessible to people that don't have a lot of space, or if you want to work at height. So these containers and the shelves behind me bring all the plants up, which means you can sit amongst them. But it also means you're not having to bend down. It's much easier to garden in this space. My garden is small and it's absolutely packed, but I always make sure that there is space here to sit and enjoy the garden. If I've got friends or family coming around, we get a few chairs out of the shed, we get a little table, open a bottle of wine, have a few olives. You're surrounded by all of this foliage, the flowers, the scents of the herbs, the buzzing of bees. This is like a kind of magical, immersive experience to sit in your garden and be surrounded by plants at this height that have got so much colour and variation. And so, it is the nicest place to sit and relax and actually enjoy the garden. My greenhouse is one of my favourite places in the garden, and it's a real hub for year-round activity. So I'm out here in the winter and the very first early months of the year sowing trays of hardy things like spinach and lettuce, spring onions in February. I do hanging baskets of coriander, mustard greens, and they grow really well in those early months of the year. The thing about a greenhouse is it offers protection from things like wind, not just cold. And when you're growing tender leafy greens early in the spring, maybe mustard leaves or spinach, they benefit so much from the protection of a greenhouse, because without the wind, the leaves grow much bigger and more lush, and you get beautiful spring veg from a greenhouse like this. Then as I move through the spring into the summer, I'm hardening off things that I've grown inside, like tomatoes, aubergines, chilies, so that they can go out into the garden, or planting some of them right into the beds to grow over the summer. So this is the perfect spot for lots of heat-loving fruiting vegetables, so things that produce from flowers. It's a bit of a common misconception about greenhouses that they're just about heat, but actually it's protection from the wind and high humidity that also makes the plants grow so much lusher. And towards the end of the summer, I take all of these out and I might overwinter some things in here. So the greenhouse has many uses throughout the year, and honestly, I wouldn't be without it now. It's one of my favourite things in the garden. This is the veg patch. So I intentionally put it on the sunniest side of the garden, and the fence gives me loads of extra space, which I use to grow things like tomatoes and beans, cucumbers, to really double the amount of room I've got in the veg patch. We're in the summer right now, so I've got courgettes, beans, beetroot, but it really does change throughout the seasons. The cold frames extend the season, so in the spring I grow spinach and radishes in there before I replace them with things like the sweet potato. It's all about creating a patchwork of changing plants so that there's always something to pick or growing. The thing is as well, I can change it every year. It's like a blank canvas. I can move things around. I can try new things out. No year is the same. I can't wait to harvest the sweet potatoes, which I'll be doing in September, October, and I have a feeling this might be my best year yet. The cold frame also gives that boost of heat, which sweet potatoes absolutely love. So fingers crossed for a good harvest this year. So this bit of the garden is full of perennials. Some are ornamental, some are edible, and I've added more edibles. So when I first got here, there was a big rose and Japanese anemones, and I've added in a pear tree, a peach tree, a pineapple guava, and I've underplanted with bulbs for things like gladioli. There's tulips in here in the spring, and I've also added in a couple of honeyberries. So there's kind of things hidden all along here, and I'm constantly adding more. But the general idea is this is a perennial border, so I'm not planning on digging loads of it out and replacing it every year. It's about creating a more established, I guess, a little bit like a forest garden. There's edible plants underneath as well as taller trees as well. It creates that wall of green that I love, and a lot of the foliage actually comes out into the garden, and it creates a really dense kind of jungly forest feel, as well as having fruit and flowers hidden within it. So that's it, my little London garden. I hope you've enjoyed it. So many things in my garden bring me joy. Make sure you let us know in the comments what your favourite thing in your garden is. Mine right now is this hoverfly on the flowering basil.